Okay, so this is just going to be a quick example of how nesting works. It's the nesting utility for Autodesk Inventor. I think the only way you can get this is with the manufacturing um, product development and manufacturing collection or something like that. And it's really useful for anyone that's doing machining on flat pieces of material like plywood. For us, we do a lot of fiberglass plates. Sheet metal is the one they reference the most. But any kind of two-dimensional profiles, it's really quite useful. So let's go ahead and get started. So you'll go in here, and if you have the nesting utility installed, there'll be nesting utility here. For me, I want inches. Go away, that doesn't mean anything. Okay, so first thing you want to do is go to your sources. And you can select multiple files. So these are all the things I want to nest. And they'll load them all up. This, you can have it automatically create a material and a packaging, and I'll show you what that is in a second. So I'm going to click no because I only need one material and one package, and I know exactly what it is. So I just don't want it to generate something that I don't need. So there you go. So it extracted all that. And see, notice it is all 2D. So anything you have that's three-dimensional, it is not predictable. I'm looking at this. I'm thinking there's going to be a problem. Okay, okay. I was thinking there was a problem because you'd think this one should be longer than this one because it's for a bigger pipe saddle, but I forgot we modified it, so it ends up being a little bit shorter. Anyway, so it's going to extract a two-dimensional profile off of whatever you give it. And so if it's 3D, then it might work. It might pick the face you'd want. What you would hope is that it would select the larger of the two faces, because assuming you're still machining off of a flat plate, but maybe you have like some profiled faces, then what I would want it to do is to pick the larger of the two faces, because that's what matters. You need the gap between parts to be the largest face, but in my experience it hasn't really done that very successfully. So these are really convenient because they're all just these rectangles. They're totally two-dimensional as far as the profile goes, and so they're perfect. So first thing, you go in here, you got this material, and it says 0.12. That would probably be fine, but I'm changing it to 0.125 just because that's the true value. So the packaging is you pick the material, and so that's where it has all its material properties and everything. You can put whatever you want in there. You can give it a name. You can tell it what the material is. It doesn't really matter. That stuff's not relevant for me at all. So here's where you put in your dimensions. Come on, man. Okay, I'm gonna pause this. Okay, and we're back. Gosh, I hate those automated phone calls. Oh, it's so frustrating. Anyway, so got your length. In this case, it's a 6x10 sheet, so 120 inches by 72 inches. And theoretically, I think you could put feet in there. Let's see what happens. 10 feet. And yeah, it'll do the conversion for you. So if you want to add more than one packaging, you can. I don't need to. All my stuff's coming out of the same thing, so just click OK. And then click on options. Let's see what we got in here. This looks like just a few options. I guess this kind of formats what the report is going to look like. which you'll see in just a second. So I'm not going to mess with any of that. For now, nesting properties. Now that's the important thing. You can adjust your priorities, and what I've seen a lot of people do is like they'll just leave the priorities all the same. But what I've found is you can actually make a real significant difference by changing the priorities. If you try, like, I would say start with the priorities all the same, and when you see the report, like, let's just do it and see what happens. So we need to see how many of each of these we need. Okay, so we need 33 of those, and then 18 of these. And that's a 14, yeah, so 11. Another 13. 5. And 12. Okay, so we don't care how they're oriented, but it's not going to matter. Orientation, you can pick all these things. This just is saying, like, for the nest, it can flip them or anything like that, and I think for most people that probably wouldn't matter a whole lot. Unless you're dealing with anisotropic materials. And so if you're doing pultruded fiberglass, for example, which is something we do a lot of, this does actually matter. So you will want to orient everything in the same direction. So maybe you would want it to stay the same or flipped 180 degrees. So then the grain's the same. But so that's all that really matters there. So that's all good. We'll say OK. And then go to create. And then you can pick your stuff. If you had different things, if you had multiple packagings, you could select them, send that over here. And so if you have several options on packagings, I guess I've never tried, but I suppose it would just pick the best option there is. And then so you can tell it what is your desired yield from the material. I don't know, honestly, what the point is. I would think you would just want the maximum possible. Obviously, 100% is never going to happen because your tool is going to eat up some of the material. So 80 is the default. I don't know why. Doesn't really matter. Runtime, I'm not really sure why it has that either. I don't know how it could possibly know what the runtime would be. But either way, we'll see. And then positioning, you can change this. And I like to go upper right because that's where I always start my toolpaths. And automatically calculate nest. I'm not sure what that changes. And now here's something that I found that's interesting is you get fewer options here than, so like, okay, I'll click OK, and it's going to generate the nest. All right, and then there are all my sheets that it calculated. Now this one, it did really well. But notice there was never a chance for me to specify the gap between these things. So we'll go in and we will want, I think, no, not options. Nesting properties, no. So if we go to the nest study, I don't remember. So it's this one. You click this, go to properties, and here You've got item separation. I'm not sure what frame width does. See, now that's something I need to look at. But, so I'm using a 9/16 bit, and usually I would make the gap 0.6 inches and just do a full loop around everything, but because all these things are so neat, there's a lot of opportunity to just make one pass, like cut down one line and cut out several pieces. So I actually will make it exactly 9/16 inches. But we'll see here in a second that that actually doesn't work the way you think it's going to, unfortunately. So that changed some things. Well, that did not work out. I'm not sure why I did that. Let's see here. So we go back, see what our properties came out to. Ah, so it just took the first number. Let's see if it'll actually let me do this. Okay, there we go. So now let's actually go in and measure. Oh, yeah, that caused problems too. 0 inches. Okay, so we want to, well, obviously you can't do a calculation in that, which is interesting. That's the first time I've ever seen an Inventor box where you can't do that. So 9/16 is what? 0.5625? I believe. Yes. So 0.5625. Okay. Now that should make a difference. So we've got 7 sheets, 5 of them. So there's multiple. So there's going to be 2 of these sheets, 1 of those, 1 of those, 1 of those, 1 of those, 1 of these. Okay. So I suspect these would probably fit over here somehow if we were clever. Maybe not though. What size are these things? Oh, okay, so the part number is down at the bottom. So, and another interesting thing about the nesting is it has a 4 in percentage right here when there's only 2. I've noticed with all these, it's double. It's always double. It's really interesting. I'm not sure why it does that. In fact, I probably need to submit a bug report for that because I really suspect that's a bug. So in here, that's 77 inches, and we only have 72 inches available. So. So those certainly will not fit. So anything over 48 won't fit vertically. Will the 42 fit vertically? It will. Okay, so I just hate to use this sheet right here for that. So, see, because you got 60% there, that's not good. 71%, that's not great. 72, 80, and 80. So these first 2 are by far the best, but there might be a better way. So this is where I would go in and change my properties here. And is this where I would have to do it? Nope. Okay. So we go to nesting properties, and then I'm going to change 42 to 2. I think a higher number means a higher priority. I'm not positive. Calculate. See, I can already tell it's better because now we only have 6 sheets. So that's really all I cared about. So just by changing that priority, now I've got 70%, 75%, 76, 78, 79, 79. So, and we probably wouldn't have kept that sheet that we had stuff cut out of. Like maybe we would have, but I doubt it. So this is a lot better scenario right here. So now comes the annoying issue, is if we go in, well, okay, so I'm going to pause really quick to fix that. Okay, so in case you're wondering, that's what I changed. That's the buttons for my 3D mouse, and so I want to measure. And will it not let me measure? That's strange. I'm not sure why it's doing this. Okay, well, so what you can do is, this is interesting. You can, I don't remember how to do it. Oh, here we go. Now, why? So, see, something's wrong here. Maybe I have to save it first. Liner nest. I can save it, and now we've done that, and still doesn't work. I'm not sure what the problem is with this. Because I believe in the past I've been able to measure and it won't do it. You should also be able, up here, you create a 3D model and it'll fix it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pause this, see if I can figure it out, and if not, but the thing is, this is mostly all I wanted to talk about. We're pretty much done. Just a quick example of how the nesting utility works, and that's mostly it. So I'll pause it, and if I can figure out that 3D model and otherwise, then I'll call it good here.